René Desmaisons-Aubion, President of the Economic, Social and Environmental Council of Gabon. News at the European Parliament, a woman is at the perch of the institution now. Deputy Roberta Metsola won the first round of the election and becomes the third woman to lead this international institution. Stay tuned because the details and more come in a feast of seconds. Once more, welcome back. We open in Gabon as announced in the headlines. Prime Minister Rose Cristiano Soukaraponda received in audience this Tuesday morning René Desmaisons-Aubion, President of the Economic, Social and Environmental Council of Gabon. This meeting comes just a few weeks before the opening of the first ordinary session of this institution. Let's listen to the hints. This working session was an opportunity for René Desmaisons-Aubion to come back to the major themes on the agenda. The head of government receives the president of the Economic, Social and Environmental Council. For this new year, new orientations are fixing the framework of work of this institution for the benefit of the country.
To make the year 2022 a year full of initiative, full of construction of a realization for the benefit of our country, the Prime Minister has indicated all the measures she's taking at the government level to ensure that our country, on the high instructions of the head of state, is already moving forward.
This exchange allowed the President of the Economic, Social and Environmental Council to explain the functioning of this organization, which is about to open its first ordinary session on behalf of this year.
The agenda of this session, which will begin in a few weeks, was reviewed with the Prime Minister, head of government, who gave instruction for this session to take place in the best conditions.
The Economic, Social, Environmental Council continues investigations and developments on the human-wildlife conflict in concerns about the issue related to the environment and advocates social dialogue in our country, Gabon. We stay in Gabon, but this time on a very different note, as every year since 1967, a wetland bird counting operation is carried in 180 countries. Gabon, which has been part of these vast networks for a few years now, began on January 16 the counting operation in Akanda National Park, north of Libreville. To learn more about this, we listen to Yana Kenenge.
Bird counting has been carried out in Gabon every year for 20 years. The country has a national network of bird counters working on the coastal region. Gaben Zamba, a bird counting coordinator in Gabon, explained that the Akanda National Park, known to harbor the highest population of migratory water birds in Central Africa, Pongara National Park and Cape Lopez, are the areas that are selected each year for the counting. Each and every year in Gabon, we can identify between 3,000 to 6,000 individuals for around 100 bird species. It should be noted that the counting operation mobilizes nearly 150,000 people worldwide. In Gabon, the birds are not threatened at all. On the contrary, new species appear and others reappear. 20 years ago, Gabon no longer recorded the presence of the white pelican at all. Every year, we observe more white pelicans in the Gabon. Recently, that we discovered the black-tailed godwit and other like the Eurasian curlew, added by the coordinator. Remember that this operation would not have been possible if the Gabonese authorities had not multiplied their efforts to protect the environment with the creation of national parks, including the one that currently hosts the bird counting operation.
Still in environment, in collaboration with the Judicial Police and the NGO Conservation Justice, the Anti-Poaching Department has just put out of harm's way a trafficker of pangolin scales. The small mammal, coveted for its scales and its flesh, is threatened with extinction. Its international trade is generally prohibited in many countries. Let's listen for more information to this report. The pooling of efforts in the fight against the trafficking of protected species is bearing fruit. August T.R. aged 37, fell into the cracks of the police who would have had echoes of a transaction of pangolin scales. At the scene, the unfortunate man was apprehended in full possession of 2 bags filled with pangolin scales weighing 46 kilograms. The presumed culprit wanted to deny the facts but ended up admitting that he would have obtained the pangolin scales from the hunters on the Kango Bifun Lambarini section. The trafficker went before the prosecutor who referred him for the facts of possession and marketing of products of a fully protected species. Important to note, pangolins are on the list of fully protected species. It is therefore forbidden to kill, capture, transport, eat or sell, or even keep in captivity these animals or their parts, scales, meat, skins, etc. The penalties incurred range from 3 to 6 months imprisonment associated with a fine ranging from 100,000 to 10 million CFA francs. Now, in Africa, the Africa Center, based in New York, the discourse change organization Africa No Filter, Media Monitoring Africa, and the University of Cape Town have joined forces to develop the Global Media Index that will track and measure how Africa is covered by the major international media. Vanessa Togu tells us more.
The Global Media Index will examine 20 major international media platforms to analyze how they tell the African stories, what voices are heard, what topics are prioritized, and how they are covered. They will also highlight best practices in reporting on the continent. The project will use a range of methods, including content analysis, institutional analysis, and interviews with journalists working for international media. The objective is to establish the dominant themes, narratives, and journalistic practices that shape the image of Africa. The index is important because 1/3 of all stories about the continent published in the news media come from foreign news services. The international media is often criticized for portraying the continent in terms of disease, poverty, conflict, corruption, and mismanagement of leaders. The Global Media Index is the latest project jointly funded by Africa No Filter and the Africa Center, focusing on media representations of Africa. The research will be led by the Professor of Media Studies at the Center for Film and Media Studies at UCT in collaboration with associate professors from UCT and Media Monitoring Africa. The Global Media Index will complement a series of breakthrough initiatives signed by Africa No Filter, including the first African news agency for human interest stories, BIRD, and the ethical storytelling manual, How to Write About Africa in 8 Steps.
Though our page opens now, you got it in the headlines, a woman is at the perch of the European Union Parliament. The deputy Roberta Metsola won the first round of the election for the presidency and becomes the 3rd woman to lead the institution, Arsène Marie recounts.
Roberta Metsola is the new president of the European Parliament. The MP was elected Tuesday by a peers to succeed the Italian David Sarkozy, her dad, at 65. She won the election in the first round with 458 votes in favor out of 690 voters. Lawyer, the lady known for a commitment against the voluntary interruption of pregnancy, will be the 3rd woman to head the European Parliament following Simone Veil and Nicole Fontaine. Roberta Metsola, in her 40s, will occupy this position for a 2.5-year term and has many files on the table. Defense, cooperation, and economic growth for the well-being and development of the population of the Euro member countries. She will be able to lead the institution while putting forward its many aspects, including the fight for a rule of law without corruption. She is also expected to address the issue of immigration. The elected president of the European Parliament is responsible for directing the work of the Euro Parliament. She is supported in her missions by 40 vice presidents. Remember that the next election for the presidency of the Euro Parliament is scheduled for 2024.
We close this news edition in brief and images. Vaccination rates in high-income countries are shamefully 7 times higher than in African countries, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said on Monday, calling for global efforts to ensure vaccine equality. Guterres made the remarks during his speech at the 2022 Economic World Forum virtual session. Let's listen to him for more details.
Without immediate action to support developing countries, inequalities and poverty will deepen. And this will result in more social unrest and more violence. Last fall, the World Health Organization unveiled a strategy to vaccinate 40% of people in all countries by the end of last year and 70% by the middle of this year. We are nowhere near these targets.
I said it earlier, this information marked the end of this news edition, so let's review the headlines. We saw that today in Gabon, Prime Minister Cristiano Raponda, head of government, received in an audience this morning René Desmaisons-Obiang, President of the Economic, Social and Environmental Council of Gabon. Also, great news at the European Parliament. A woman is at the perch of the institution now. Deputy Roberta Metsola won the first round of the election and becomes the third woman to lead the international institution. It is with a lot of pleasure that we choose to inform you every day on G24. Don't forget, information continues equally on our social media. Subscribe, share, and follow. At 10:30 p.m. local time, I will be back on set, but I am not alone this time. I will be with our sportsman Yana Kenege to decrypt, analyze, and discuss about the match of the Panthers against the Atlas Lions of Morocco.